Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Limitless Show. Today, my guest and I will be talking about not feeling good enough when it comes to being a woman boss. So if that interests you, definitely listen up. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today. We were introduced by a mutual friend and we hit it off straight away like a house on fire. She has so much value to bring. She has so much wisdom to bring, and I can't wait for you to hear what she has to say. So thank you so much for being here, Janice Burt.
Yay, Emily, thank you for having me. I love talking about this stuff, and yeah, I love talking to you when we got a chance to. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
So for those of you who do not know about The Limitless Show, The Limitless Show is where I bring on a new guest every single week and we talk about a limitation they've had in their life or are having and how they've overcome it or are overcoming it, in the hopes that if you're struggling with the same thing, what is said in this episode can help you. So when I was talking to Janice, she said that she would like to talk about the topic of not feeling good enough to be a woman boss. So Janice, I would love for you to explain more about this limitation. What does that mean, not feeling good enough to be a woman boss?
Sure. And when I said that, of course, I do mean professionally, as far as being a boss in your life that way, but I also mean it personally. So just kind of stepping up into who we truly are and who we're meant to be, and really taking control and creating a life that we are excited about, that we fall in love with and can't wait to get up in the morning. So that's kind of what I was referring to with woman boss, is in all areas of life, just stepping up into the fullness of who we truly are.
I love that. So it's just basically bossing life personally and professionally, and just being that authentic self, the person that you were meant to be, creating that life that you love personally and professionally. How did not feeling good enough to be a woman boss personally and professionally limit you?
Before about 9 years ago, which is when my transformation began, I was very much a people pleaser. I did a lot of things in life to make other people happy. I was very codependent, and I was kind of used to playing small. Like I would do some things, but it was just like a little toe in and then back to safety. Yeah. So I feel like it really did limit me in the sense that I was all about what was going on externally and what other people would say or think or what they were doing. And, maybe I'll just follow. I'm a follower. And I would actually say that in the past, I'm just a follower. And it was a way to feel safe and protected, yet it limited so much of what I could have done back then. So for example, in high school, I used to love speaking and acting. And so I joined the speech and debate team when I was, like 15 years old, and I started competing in these speeches. So there was one contest where it was the finals. So I had won, and it's the finals. And I think there was like a $5,000 scholarship on the line. And I stand up there, and Emily, I'm telling you, I knew that speech like the back of my hand because I had practiced it so much. But I stood up there, and there's a room full of people, and I see these little eyes and everybody's staring at me. And halfway through my speech, I just forgot my lines. My mind went blank. I just stood up there for like 30 seconds. I couldn't even remember like my name. And so of course I lost that contest, but in doing so, that fear of failure, fear of not, being good enough, because that's always been this thing in my life. And I know a lot of people, we just struggle with not being good enough or the fear of failure. So I went through life the next 20 years without speaking publicly again, because I was so scared to have that type of a situation happen again. Anyway, it did limit me. I allowed myself to be in the confines of this prison. And what's interesting is I had the key the whole time. But I made the choice to at least feel safe and to be in my little comfort zone, my little jail, because the bars and the cold cement, it was familiar.
I love how you said that. You had the key the whole time. And I think that's what, through my whole channel, I'm trying to make people realize. My message is, from my channel, is you're the only limitation in your life. You put these limitations on yourself. Now, it may seem like it's external, like people are holding you back, or it's procrastination, or it's something outside of you, but it's actually all within you, because you have that key. And I love how you put that. But yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think you've already named a few, but what do you believe the reasons behind this not feeling good enough was? Because you've said something like people pleasing and, the fear of failure and that comfort. What do you believe was the sole reason why you didn't feel good enough to boss your life?
Well, I think, and for a lot of people, this is what happens with these thoughts and that eventually become beliefs, is when we're kids or teenagers, things will happen in our life and we will connect a certain negative thought maybe along with that event. And then the more we repeat that thought, we cement a belief then. So instead of just this thought that, oh, I'm a failure, when I forget my lines in the speech, oh, I'm a failure, instead of just, oh, one time I forgot my lines, is much different than I am a failure. And then if you replay that enough times, it's I am a failure, the thought, then all of a sudden it truly becomes this belief, and we start believing, oh my gosh, no, genuinely, I am a failure. I actually lived in Mexico City when I was a little girl for 5 years. And during that time, I had great self-talk because people around me really liked me because I was different. I was unique in a kind of special way. So I started thinking, man, I'm special. Here's this eight-year-old little girl going, I am special. Everybody wants to talk to me. They want to touch my hair because it's a different color than most of their hair, And so I had that thought, and that was great until I was 13 and we moved back to the United States, and I had been prescribed these thick Coke bottle glasses that made my eyes look really little. And I go into junior high school and it's halfway through the year. So everybody already had their own little friend groups. And I was bullied and picked on right away. I mean, like the minute school started, it was like, who's this new girl? We are going to go for her. And I actually remember being chased around the track during PE and 3 girls trying to pull my pants down in front of everybody. So it was like this terror mixed with, oh my gosh. So I was special in Mexico and I come over here and I am worthless. I'm ugly because that's what they would say, because the glasses and this and that. And I'm not good enough to be anybody's friend. Like it was going on from being up here on this pedestal to falling flat on my face and feeling just totally not good enough, not special, not beautiful, and all of those things. And then, the high school situation with forgetting my lines, then it was I'm a failure. So these events that happen in our youth and in our childhood, if we don't really work through them and change those thoughts, we don't even know it at the time, but they get implanted into our subconscious. So we're actually living life and making decisions from this place that we're not even aware. Like I didn't even know how much fear I was actually living with until, like I said, about 9 years ago when I had this bathroom floor breakdown moment. And that was my aha moment. I can't even remember what your original question was, but I think I went off onto a little tangent there.
No, you still answered it. The question was, what do you think the kind of reason behind your belief was? And as you explained, and for a lot of people, and it's really true that our mind just wants us to be right. So whatever you tell yourself, it's going to go back through your life, through all your history to prove you right. I was talking to a friend on another Limitless show, and she was saying how, for example, if you wake up and you say, oh, I can really feel like it's going to be a bad day. With you already saying that, your mind's thinking, yes, we got to make her right. Like, let's pick out all these things. Let's, put her in the way to having a bad day. Although you don't want this bad day, but your mind is trying to prove you right. Even when you were saying, I am a failure, words are so powerful. Like, I was feeling it in myself because I was repeating it in my head that I am a failure. Like, I was starting to close up in my own self. These words are so powerful, which we tell ourselves. And like you said, if we don't go back, sometimes we don't even know we're having these thoughts because they're in our subconscious, or they're just, some habit that we feel like that's just the way it's always been, so that's all the way it's going to be. But it is finding these thoughts, finding out what these thoughts are. On that note, how would you suggest people find out what their thoughts are and change them?
The very first step is awareness. I mean, nothing can change without us actually knowing that there's something going on, or that we're living from this place. And awareness is just this deep introspection and a lot of times we don't want to do it because it's painful, or it brings up stuff that, maybe we feel like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that, or I want to push that to the back corners of my mind and never bring that up again. And we have to open ourselves up to really digging deep, going deep within ourselves and going, wait a minute, okay, here's this pattern I have. What is that about? Okay, here's how I react when I meet this type of a person. What's up with that? Okay, this person really annoys me. Wait a minute, is it really that person, or what is it in that person that I'm seeing, or is a reflection of something within me? So there's a level of kind of taking personal responsibility, which I will say I was the best at blaming and having this victim mentality. Like, oh my gosh, all these things happened to me and these people did these things to me. And that could be very true. But when we get stuck in blaming and pointing fingers, nothing changes with us. I would say the very first step is awareness. The second step is making a decision. And we make decisions every day of our lives, but it has to be a specific choice. And I know, who was it? John Maxwell, I think, said, oh, life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you.
Wow.
So life is a matter of choices. Every choice we make creates the person that we are and that we will become. So making a choice then to do something different, something a little outside of your comfort zone, something you haven't tried before. And then the third thing is the action. And that is the culmination of these first things: awareness, decision. Then we have to go out and take that step, the leap. And that is how we transform our lives. That's how we step up into our power to become a woman boss in all senses of that phrase.
I love what you said about the victim, because so many people do play the victim. And do you know what? People have been through horrible times, and I would never say like it wasn't horrible. But the thing is, when you play the victim, you don't have the power of change. You don't have that power to change, because you're putting that power in someone else's hands. You're saying, oh, it's their fault that happened, or it's that fault, or it's that external thing. But when you say, actually, no, I'm not the victim, and although maybe not be my whole responsibility, but I am partially responsible for what is happening to me, actually mainly responsible for what is happening, especially what I'm thinking and what I'm doing and what I'm feeling. They're the things that you are definitely responsible for. Once you realize that, you have the power to change. And like you said, with this great example, that you have to have awareness and then you have to make the choice. You can't make the choice to change if you don't realize you have the power. So if you're playing the victim, you cannot change. I'm really interested though, you've said that like 9 years ago, this kind of whole journey started where you're crying on the bathroom floor, something must have happened. What was your first step to change? I know it's off topic, but I'm just curious. Was it still the self-awareness, choices, and then actions?
No, that was what I decided to do as I was on the bathroom floor. But the bathroom floor was, I had been married for 14 years to my high school sweetheart. And like I said, I was very codependent. I was very much a people pleaser. We had two young children. We were going through a divorce. So it was this tremendous loss that I was going through. And many times, it's sad but true, a lot of times we have to be in that place of rock bottom or that place of deep pain. Unfortunately, I hate even to say it, but for these transformations to happen, usually there's some pain involved or some loss, something that we're going through, because I just realized I could not continue living the life that I had been living, which was in that prison, but it was my familiar, comfortable prison. I was kind of at this crossroads of, okay, wow, now what do I do? Now who am I? I don't have this person who I thought was my world and the moon and the stars and my everything anymore. So what am I, Janice Burt, going to do? And as I'm laying there on the bathroom floor, just sobbing, and I know a lot of people have the bathroom breakdowns. That seems to be where they happen. My life was flipped upside down. And so in that moment, there was that, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I want people to know that it is a process, and it's okay for it to be a process. I am 9 years into this process, and I'm still going. I'm still tackling fears. I'm still becoming more self-aware. I mean, as we peel back one layer, something else will surface. And that's the nature of life. We are meant to grow and change and evolve and become the best versions of who we truly are. So it's, I expect to, in my, who knows how long I'm going to live, but if in my 80s and 90s, I'm still moving forward and growing. But to answer your question, yes, there was a pivotal moment where there was a big loss in my life. And I had to all of a sudden wake up to like, whoa, what's my responsibility in this? How did I contribute? What are my thoughts? How am I showing up in the world? And then, so that was where the awareness began, and I continued. And trust me, I've done pretty much all the types of therapy. I've done hypnotherapy, EMDR, NLP. I've done, I forget what it's called. They actually put things on your brain. I'll have to look it up. It's neuro something also. But anyway, I've just done a lot of things to become more aware of anything that might be still hiding in my subconscious that I just want to bring to the light so that I can truly continue to grow.
Definitely the way it happened for me is I hit my biggest breakdown, and they say that the biggest breakdown, your biggest breakdown is your biggest breakthrough, or your biggest breakdown is the foundations that you rebuild your life on, which is true for most people. But I do want to tell the viewers that you don't have to wait for that time either. You don't have to wait for that awful thing to happen or for you to get that far down the road. But a lot of the times it is that which, is the catalyst for change. So we've said that possibly your main reason for the feelings of not feeling good enough to live this woman boss life was because of the thoughts that you were having in your head. And obviously the thoughts become feelings, become actions. As a lot of people know, thoughts become feelings. What other reasons do you think that people, or women in particular, are not living their boss lives or not feeling good enough to live it?
I think safety, and also feeling like we need other people's validation. I think that's a big thing with women, is it does become kind of this people pleasing, not wanting to rock the boat type of situation. And it really does hold us back. What are people going to think? What are they going to say about me? Am I going to be considered too bossy? Am I going to be viewed a certain way that might impact me? But I think the bottom line is the more we work on our own self-love, our own just, oh my gosh, I love myself. I accept myself. I think I'm amazing. When we come to life with that point of view, other people's opinion of us, I mean, we can hear it, but it's not going to, really be that knife in the stomach, or it's not going to topple us. We can have this assuredness within us, deep from within, that we are enough, that we are amazing, and that we are here to impact change. We are here to be purposeful, to lead meaningful and loving lives. And then we don't have to cater to everybody's opinions and the fact is, and I'm still learning this right now, but there's always going to be somebody that's going to disapprove of you. There just is. And a lot of times that's just their own stuff that has nothing to do with you. So it's almost like we're taking on everybody's stuff when we don't need to do that. They are living their lives. They have their own wounds. They have their own stories they tell themselves. So that's just their life and their point of view. And it doesn't mean anything about you. So, being able to separate maybe constructive criticism and things like that. I mean, I love growing, like I said, so I want to learn new things about myself. And if somebody has something really great to say that will help me improve, then that's amazing, right? I don't want to be closed off to that, but also I don't want to feel that I have to cater to everything everybody says. It has to be in alignment. I check in with, okay, who are you, Janice? What are you about? Is this in alignment with your goals and your thoughts? And if so, then cool, adopt that or take that in. If not, thank you, but I don't need that piece of advice or criticism or whatever it is.
Yeah, you can hear someone out, but you don't have to take on every single piece of advice. And like you said, a lot of people have their own troubles and their own problems and their own limiting beliefs and their own stories. And if you hang around with people, they are going to put them on you. Not to purposely stop you, sometimes to purposely stop you. Maybe they're jealous, but a lot of the time, maybe they're fearful for you because they care about you. But you've got to realize you don't have to take that. You don't have to. You can hear them out nicely, but you can say, actually, I'm happy with what I'm doing and this is what I'm going to do. And if I fail, I'm going to learn, but I'm happy with what I'm doing. And I trust within myself that this is the right thing for me. But I also love what you said about self-love as well, because it said that when you seek validation, you will seek that for the rest of your life. You'll seek it one after the other, and you'll never fully truly be fulfilled, because it's going to be where can I get that next validation from? Where can I get that next piece of approval? But when you have this self-love, as you were saying, I am amazing, I love me, I love everything about me, you have this kind of unlimited source that's just within you, and you don't need this outer validation because you just love everything about you. And you may be learning, like you said, you're still learning about yourself, but you can love yourself while you're learning. You can love yourself right now and still be enough right now to have this woman boss life, but still improve and be 100 times better the next year. You can love yourself where you are at now. But yeah, no, I completely
agree. It's that acceptance, this beautiful acceptance of where you are now, also knowing that life is full of seasons. So if you're in a little bit more of a down, dark season, supporting yourself, loving yourself as you would, a child or somebody that you deeply care for. So many times we are so critical of ourselves, and we say things to ourselves we would never say to somebody that we love, ever, ever. And that's why when I was telling you before, when I would say these things, I am a loser, I'm not good enough, I'm ugly. And now I have a new I am statement, and I repeat that over and over and over again, which is I am a confident, powerful, and purposeful woman. So that has replaced any of my old I am statements. And I love this quote that says, I am are the two most important words, for what you put behind them shapes your reality. And it's totally true. So we think about what you're saying to yourself. Think about the thoughts that just sometimes without even realizing we're thinking. And that's where the self-awareness comes in. And then you can start seeing, oh man, did I just say that to myself? Am I really viewing myself that way? And then you can switch it up very intentionally by writing down a new I am statement that you can literally like put in your bathroom, over the mirror, in your office, and just constantly say it and be reminded of who you truly are.
No, it's so true. Things do pop in your head. Like sometimes, especially when I'm just waking up, things pop in my head and I have to question myself because, and I say it in quite a lot of my videos, it was a powerful moment when I realized that I'm not responsible for my first thoughts. I'm responsible for my second thought and my first action. And that's true because sometimes these thoughts do come into your head. Sometimes you do like repeat habits. Sometimes it's just a random thought and you think, well, why the hell did I just think that? But then you've got to realize and question yourself and think, no, I do think I'm worthy. No, I am lovable. No, I am good. I am enough. And then you act upon that second thought. A lot of people need to realize that their thoughts, if they haven't had this self-awareness thing, their thoughts are not actually reality. They're their reality, but they're not reality because they are enough and they are deserving.
And I love how you said that. That's so good. And we have to realize that we are not our thoughts. I think so many people think that just because I think a thought or it just popped into my head, all of a sudden, whoa, it's no, we are not our thoughts. So there is that level of kind of separation so that you can, and that's where meditation comes in too, where you can be the observer of your thoughts and then realize, wait a minute, if I'm observing my thoughts, then I am not my thoughts. There's this deeper part of me. So it's really cool to play around with that and sit in silence and focus on breath. And when a thought comes in, you observe it, you're aware of it, but instead of, I love this analogy for some reason. I heard it somewhere and it just has stuck to me. It's like, picture you're sitting at a train station and the trains are coming and going. So the trains are your thoughts and the trains are just going to come and go. That is just how it is. You're not going to argue against reality. That's what happens. Trains come and go, thoughts come and go. The difference is the train can come, stop, open the doors, and we can choose to continue sitting on the platform and not get in the train and have the train take us all around, God knows where. So we get to choose, like you were saying. I mean, I love that how, we're not responsible for the first thought, but we're responsible for the second. So we're not responsible that the train is coming into the station, but we're responsible as to whether or not we get on that train or stay seated on the platform where we want to be. So I love that.
No, that's magical because sometimes we can get on that train without knowing and it just takes us to this horrible place. And until you realize you're actually sitting on that train, you're like, oh, actually, I need to get off this train. It's that awareness again. And you can have awareness at any part, but it's definitely best to have that awareness when the train's coming to the platform rather than, 6 months in feeling a bit depressed and a bit anxious and not feeling worthy and everything like that. But no, I love that analogy. I'm definitely going to use it again. So thank you for sharing.
Of course. Yeah. And it's practice, and that's the thing. We don't beat ourselves up for getting on the train. Sometimes we're going to get on the train, but I think we start shortening the amount of time maybe that we're on that train, as we're more aware. And then finally, we'll probably get to the point where, oh yeah, the train's coming in the station. I'm not going to get on that because we've practiced. And so just knowing that it's this mental exercise, just like you're going to the gym to do physical exercise. We don't just go to the gym one time and expect to be super buff and like we're done. It's this constant journey and process. And so just allowing for that to be and being very gentle with ourselves in the process, loving ourselves through the process, and just accepting that it is a process.
What I want to say now is, before we went on kind of the, how to not follow those thoughts or not care too much or worry too much about what people think of us so that doesn't stop us, you also said that sometimes people can feel unworthy of living their boss life because they're maybe afraid to get out of their comfort zone. What would you say to that person who was struggling with that particular limitation?
I would encourage them that life is so beautiful and free and peaceful right on the other side. So directly on the other side of these fears that limit us and hold us back, when we are able to stand up to the fear, to walk through the things that are scary, to be a little uncomfortable, then literally right on the other side is freedom and peace and beauty and amazingness. So I would just encourage you that we have this one life as far as we know. We don't know how many hours or days or minutes we have. So we need to not take that for granted, that we are living, breathing human beings right now, and that we have this choice to live a life of meaning and purpose and really discovering who we truly are and who we're meant to be, or we have a choice of slinking back, being frightened of everything, being tied, being in that prison cell that is familiar, but there is no life there. There is no joy there. There is no peace there. So truly it is worth stepping out of your comfort zone and walking with your shoulders back, your heart forward, confident, facing each of those fears. So just a quick story about that. I was talking about in high school with this speech where I forgot my lines. Well, because of that, I didn't speak publicly for 20 years. That's how much that event impacted me, because I never wanted to feel that again. To me, that was just, oh my gosh, I don't want to fail like that. I don't want to be judged like that. I don't want to be seen like that ever again. And after the bathroom floor moment, and I decided to change, one of the first things I did was to join Toastmasters, which is a public speaking group, and you go and you speak in front of people. I started doing that. And what I want to encourage you with also is, when you start facing your fears and when you push past the limits that you have put there yourself, there are moments where it will not be pretty, and that's okay. I want you to know it's okay. So during Toastmasters, I stood up there. I think it was the second speech that I gave, and I had my notes, because oh my gosh, it was several months later when I dared to do a speech without notes. But I had my notes, and I start speaking, and I started shaking. Now, when I say shaking, I'm talking about like having a grand mal seizure. Yeah, where I had to hold on to the podium, because if not, I was going to fall over. It was so intense. It was like my fear was being manifest for everybody to see. Oh my gosh, I felt that dread just like I was 16, just like I was back in high school. And I look over and there's a chair, right? There's safety. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could sit down. It would be so much more comfortable right now for me to sit in that chair, because right now I'm looking like a fool up here. In that moment, I knew I had a choice. I could sit down and be comfortable and safe, or I could stand there and shake and look like a fool. And so it took me like 2 seconds. And I said to myself, Janice, you will stand here and you will shake, because nothing is worse than going back into that prison of fear and pain, of feeling bound. Nothing is worse than that. So I did. I just stood there and I shook, and then I finished my speech. And what was amazing, Emily, that was just so cool, is right after that, people started sharing about their own fears. People started opening up like, oh my gosh, I sweat when I'm scared. I stammer. Oh my gosh, thank you. It was like all of a sudden we could be authentically human and authentically there for each other in a way that had that not happened and I would have done this perfect, beautiful speech, we never would have connected at that heart level that's meaningful. And that's what life is. It's deeper than being perfect. It's deeper than, thinking that we have everything put together. There's purpose and meaning and connection on a deeper level, which I felt that me not being perfect kind of permitted that to happen. So I would just encourage everybody to be authentically who you are and walk through each of your fears boldly. And I also love the analogy of the diamond, how diamonds are formed, which is this painful, whatever, burning process, but look at the beauty. And I think that's what I want people to see is you are amazing. You are deeply courageous and beautiful, and we need to see that. The world needs to see that. And so walking through wounds and fears and our past and our limiting beliefs and all these things that hold us back is what is going to get us to that shiny, beautiful diamond at the end of that.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm really moved right now. That is such a powerful story. And I connect with you. Like, even you telling that, like saying your fears and how much you shook and how you got through that. That's what I relate to. That's what people relate to. The more authentic you are, which does mean the more vulnerable you are, but people connect to that. And you don't know how many people you're going to inspire until you are your authentic self, which does mean being vulnerable. But I think the term vulnerable is very mistaken, because to me, being vulnerable is strength, not weakness. Vulnerability is, at my definition, pure strength. The more vulnerable you are, the more strong you are, not the more weak you are. And I think we've been drilled into our brain the wrong version, because that, to me, that story is so powerful, so strong, because you are vulnerable and you share it. And thank you so much for sharing that.
And I think that's why Brene Brown, Brene Brown with her power of vulnerability, how many views that has gotten and how well known she is now because of that. I think that speaks to your point. I mean, there is so much power in vulnerability, in showing up without the mask and knowing that it's going to be okay, and that is going to unite us, and it's going to be a beautiful thing instead of a disastrous thing, which is what our mind wants us to believe.
I have a last couple of questions, and I'd be really interested to know, what would you say to yourself, knowing what you know now? What would you say to your past self who, didn't feel good enough to live this boss life, this woman boss life, personally, professionally, every area of her life? What would you say to her?
I would say you are safe, you are loved, you are beautiful, and you are enough. I would tell her everything I could to encourage her spirit, to uplift her, to let her know how amazing she is, because I think we can tend to be so critical. And really, people change and grow when they're encouraged, not when they're criticized, when they're encouraged. Yet we think somehow, if we can criticize enough, if we can, and even with my own daughter, I have to remember, Ella, you are beautiful. You are safe, you are loved, and just encourage, because when we criticize, when we tear down, nothing can blossom and bloom and be fully who they're meant to be. So yeah, I would just say all the encouraging things over and over and over through repetition, so that then that's cemented in. Instead of the negative belief, it's all the positive, uplifting, encouraging beliefs. And when we're believing all of that stuff, man, we can change the world because we've changed ourselves.
Change does start within first. It's amazing how you start. There's a quote and I can't remember what it is and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something to do with once you change yourself, the world changes. Like once you change what's within you, what's outside of you changes as well. And it's really true, because once you change those perspectives, those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs, everything else is brighter. Everything else is a little bit easier. Like you said, things are still going to be tough. There's still things going to come around. You're still going to have these hard challenges, but over that hurdle, over those failures, over those hardships, it's even more beautiful. It really is. Have you got any final words on this topic to do with not feeling enough to be a woman boss?
I would just say, go for it. Go for it. Like, take that key out of your pocket as you're sitting in the prison, unlock that door, step out into freedom, make mistakes. Don't feel like you have to be perfect. There's something beautiful about failing, which is interesting, but it's true, because the people that fail are people that are in the ring, that people that are doing something, people that are out there. If you're not failing, it means that you're very safe, that you're not taking any action steps, that you're not walking through those fears. It's just not an exciting, joyful, peaceful, purposeful life. And so I would just encourage everybody to really, there's a balance. There's a sit still and just be, and then there's a go out and take action. And so finding that beautiful flow between allowing yourself to just be and not be striving, not be going constantly, just to be, and then from that getting strength, courage, and that's the impetus for then this massive action that you can take. And then you flow and you move, and it's like this seamless, beautiful dance in life. So I would just say, be a woman boss. Take charge of your life. Create just for the sake of creating. That's what I love too. You know, we are creative beings, and that's something that is so unique and beautiful about us, is that we can create something from nothing. So create something just for the beauty and the sake that you can, and see how you feel, see how accomplished you feel, and the power and the confidence that you start building up. And then just keep on that path, one baby step in front of the other, so as to not get overwhelmed, because I think sometimes if we try to put too much on, we won't do anything. So instead of that, just one little consistent baby step in front of one little consistent baby step, and then we achieve these amazing things as a result. So I love you guys. I want all of us women to really rise up, and to rise up together, to build each other up, lift each other up, walk through all our fears, and to be able to change some of the things in ourselves, in our communities, and then in the world that truly need to change.
No, completely. And as you said, with the balance thing as well, going from, you know, that kind of rest and, you know, the awareness, and then getting the strength to like move forward and, you know, create and do these things, creating for the sake of creating. And with that balance as well, you don't have to be perfect with that balance, because when you're trying to be perfect, that's when you get frustrated with yourself. And like you were saying with the train as well, It's all about kind of compassion. Everything, do it with compassion. Have compassion for yourself. You're not going to get it right for the first time. It's not going to go right maybe a lot of the time. Sometimes you're going to go through seasons, as you said, but have compassion and go from one side to the other, to the other, to the other. You may be doing this zigzag for a while, but soon the zigzag will get, tighter and tighter, and you'll be living in this flow, as you say. But no, you've said so many valuable things today. And I just want to say to the audience, if Janice has inspired you, I'm going to put all of her details in the description below. She has a Facebook group, she has a Facebook page, and all of these things, amazing things that she's doing, creating. So definitely go and check out what she's doing. But thank you so much for being here, Janice. Like, I can't thank you enough. I am so grateful for you. And to everyone watching, if you have enjoyed this, let us know by hitting that like button, putting a comment in the comments, subscribing, and all of that jazz. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much again, Janice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mwah.